Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this episode I'll be discussing Adventures in Babysitting. This is a 1987 teen comedy adventure film directed by Chris Columbus in his directorial debut and starring Elisabeth Shue, Keith Coogan, Anthony Rapp and Maya Bruton. It's one of a handful of light-hearted teen movies made during the 1980s that I consider to be perfect, or very near perfect, in terms of their overall success as a piece of filmmaking. This film in particular benefits from a tight script that is so well crafted that literally every scene in the movie is good. There is no redundant content anywhere to be found. Each scene is vital, well constructed and leads seamlessly to the next. The overall storytelling is superb, and although the plot is far-fetched, borderline absurd at times, the film always maintains a strict sense of verisimilitude, an internal truth and honesty. However unlikely the action may be, it always seems plausible within the framework of the movie. There's a fundamental logic to the way each character behaves and interacts, and the film never assumes that the audience won't notice or will forgive sloppy filmmaking just because it's an entertainment movie for kids. In this sense, writer David Simkins does an absolutely fabulous job, and first-time director Chris Columbus jumps straight into his near-flawless directing career without a single misstep. This is a very good film. The story is simple. Elisabeth Shue, who has never looked more lovely by the way, reluctantly agrees to babysit 15-year-old Keith Coogan and his 8-year-old sister Maya Bruton. Shue's best friend Brenda phones in distress, saying that she's run away from home and is stranded at a bus depot and needs to be rescued. So Shue heads off to rescue Brenda with the kids in tow, including Coogan's best friend Anthony Rapp in a scene-stealing comedic turn. So they head off down the freeway and there's a blowout, and this begins a snowballing series of adventures as they attempt to rescue Brenda and get themselves back to the suburbs before the kids' parents get home. Each scary encounter and unlikely adventure progresses the story along neatly, and either sets up or pays off another. There isn't a single wasted or redundant scene, and although some of the adventures may stretch credibility a little thin, none of them outright jump the shark, and each event feels earned. There are multiple story threads, and each one is explored with sufficient depth and respect to feel important, yet also with enough economy and finesse that the movie moves along swiftly and never drags. I say again, this is very good filmmaking. Also, the cinematography by Rick Waite makes creative use of the available light sources, making each scene interesting and colourful and enhancing the sense of heightened reality experienced by the kids on a dangerous adventure in nighttime Chicago. One scene, for example, makes use of the existing fluorescent lights in a tunnel, but changes them from their usual white to a vivid green. This is a visual choice that heightens the intensity of the scene, and in the reverse shot, when Elisabeth Shue enters a doorway from that tunnel, she's hit by a very strong green backlight. But when we cut back to the reverse in the tunnel, we can see that although there's a general green ambience, there is no strong backlight hitting her in that way. It's a cheat done purely for creative and artistic effect, and it works very well. There's one scene in the film that I always look forward to more than any other, and of course it's the scene in the nightclub where Elisabeth Shue and the kids are forced to sing the blues. And the scene starts off realistically enough. Shue shows hesitancy as she improvises a blues song, the Babysitting Blues, which essentially tells the story of the film, and she sings it with the blues band and the kids on backing vocals. But as the song progresses, it becomes less hesitant and more polished, choreographed and rehearsed. It essentially becomes a big musical number, but it always stays just on the right side of the plausibility line. This film is not a musical, and it doesn't stray into that territory, but it does manage to shoehorn a musical number in whilst maintaining verisimilitude. Again, excellent filmmaking, and the scene is earned. Right at the very top of the film, during the opening titles, Elisabeth Shue is seen dancing round her bedroom in a choreographed routine, lip-syncing to a song. It establishes the musicality of her character and sets it up so that when she does a musical number later on in the film, it doesn't come out of the blue, if you'll forgive the pun. Overall, this film is a really nice slice of 1980s nostalgia, and it's one of a slew of teen movies that came out at precisely the right moment for me personally as a teenager, and I remember it with great fondness and affection. It's also lasted the test of time surprisingly well. The picture is not too grainy, and the soundtrack is not too synthy. In fact, the music by Michael Kamen is barely noticeable. It just neatly underscores the storytelling, and the choice of songs is eclectic enough that nothing firmly fixes the movie in any particular era. It doesn't scream 1980s. But most importantly of all, it's still a fun, feel-good film that's entertaining throughout and leaves you with a smile on your face. And in these troubled times, I find myself feeling more and more drawn to these cheerful, happy films from my youth. I must be getting old. And on that note, I think I'll call it a day. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you next time. See you later.